Dave Morrison here. If you're familiar with me, you know that I tend to hold my fire for a while on the big issues. When I give my opinion, I'd rather that it be after I've done the reading and the thinking. Mandates are a big issue, but I'm ready to weigh in and let the chips fall where they may. It's been almost 2 weeks since the mandates for city employees took effect in New York City. As they kicked in on November 1st, city workers had already reached a vaccination rate well above herd immunity. Incredibly, NYC has over 350,000 city workers. Last time I checked, 9,000 of them, including a lot of cops and firemen, were on unpaid leave. Unions have reached several compromises with the city. Thousands have filed for religious exemptions. This haggling will go on for months, and I don't have a dog in that hunt. This is where some of you will correct me. When it comes to personal liberty, we all have a dog in that hunt. Okay, we'll come back to that. LA also has a vax mandate for city workers on the way, but this past Monday here in Los Angeles County, a different sort of mandate kicked in. Businesses that serve the public are now required to turn away anybody without proof of vaccination, just when these places are beginning to show a profit again. Ruthlessly toying with these poor merchants for a year and a half has apparently not satisfied the control freak urge. Here's a chart. On the left, we have all of the affected businesses in Los Angeles proper. Pretty much any place where a customer comes in off the street. That's for the city of LA. On the right, we see that county restrictions are limited almost entirely to drinking establishments. In case you're wondering, the large events apply to 10,000 or more. So I guess my gigs are in the clear for now. I was in my favorite coffee house Monday morning. It's in LA County. They don't serve alcohol, so no need for proof of vax. Tuesday night, however, I was at one of the jam sessions I told you about in my mastery video. That place does serve alcohol, and it's in LA County. And I'm telling you, the joint was jumping. 4 hours of great music, people drinking, people hugging. I only saw one person wearing a mask. She was sitting near me. Well, about 6 feet away. When one of the performers sang Lucky Man, I heard a high harmony come from behind the black cloth. I joined in with a low harmony. She pulled off her mask, and the two of us, complete strangers, created a harmony chord with the guy on stage. It was magical. Then she put her mask back on. But she was the only one. Nobody there had shown proof of vaccination. It remains to be seen if the other jam I attend will be shut down by the LA County mandates. That happens on Sundays. An elderly woman owns that bar. I can't picture her defying a county order, nor can I picture her carding her clientele for proof that they are not among the unclean. My gut tells me that she'll close her doors again, as she was forced to do for most of the last 20 months. I hope I'm wrong. COVID numbers in Los Angeles County have been falling steadily since August 1st. That's when the Delta variant topped out and began to retreat. This is from yesterday on the county's COVID page. We've been hovering around 1% positive testing for a couple of weeks. Over the last couple of months, bars and restaurants have been gradually returning to almost normal, particularly working-class bars like the one I was in Tuesday night. People have been mixing. It seems like nothing can stop the dreaded Delta variant from, going away by itself. In LA, just like in New York, COVID is in remission. But government intervention is on the march again. COVID isn't the only virus that mutates. This brings us to Biden's national mandate. His plan is to use OSHA to force any business with more than 100 employees to, in turn, force those employees to get vaccinated. Here's an excerpt from the plan. Quote, OSHA shall issue an ETS if the agency determines that employees are subject to grave danger from exposure to substances or agents determined to be toxic or physically harmful. Close quote. OSHA can only implement an emergency temporary standard if it protects employees from grave danger. This will never hold up to the court challenges pouring in from the red states, not with COVID numbers falling precipitously. These businesses have somehow been making do with masking and distancing all through the Delta spike. So who is in grave danger now that Delta is receding? Not the vaccinated. I got vaxxed in May. I'd watched and waited for months. I weighed the options. I did the reading. I thought carefully and objectively. I didn't let anybody on the right or the left tell me what to do. I decided that getting a vaccination that had already been well tolerated by over 1 billion people was a good idea. Now that it's been well tolerated by 3 billion people, it seems that I made the right choice. Since I did that, I have been in no grave danger from COVID-19. I can still get it, but it won't get me. Apparently, Biden's OSHA mandate is an attempt to save the unvaccinated from each other, but they don't want to be saved. Tuesday night, I may well have risked getting a case of the coves. If I do catch a dose, I'll experience light flu-like symptoms, pretty much the chances I've always taken at this time of year. If I was not vaccinated and I had a comorbidity or two, swapping breath with strangers would be foolish. But I am, and I don't, so it isn't. As far as I can tell, the people we should be protecting with vaccines all have access to the shots. If the non-vaxxers need to prove that nobody can tread on them, I say let them go unprotected. And if an employer decides to can them, it's not my problem. Okay, now let's talk about personal liberty. First off, let's get grounded in reality. We conservatives love law and order. A law is a restriction on individual liberty. Order is the enforcement of that law. So we'll agree that government can and does restrict our liberties. This is nothing new. Yesterday was Veterans Day, a day to celebrate courage and duty. We have a volunteer military now, but once you're in, your liberty is sharply restricted. Before it was all volunteer, conservatives denounced draft dodgers. It was considered cowardly to not take on personal risk for the good of your fellow Americans. I'd say that an invasive vaccine is a hell of a lot less risky than an invasive bullet. All branches of the military require COVID vaccinations, and they are at about 90% vaxxed overall. You'll say, soldiers volunteered to have their liberties abridged. Regular citizens didn't. Fair enough. But the reasoning is still inconsistent. Here's what a fireman protesting LA's mandates had to say.
John Knox here with Firefighters for Freedom. You're a board member. You helped organize this. First of all, the city of LA enforcing a mandate this morning requiring indoor businesses, or most of them at least, to make sure that they can prove that people are fully vaccinated before they can go inside. Are you guys against this?
This is the United States of America, and the last time I checked, you're segregating the population. You know, there's no difference than riding it in the back of a bus versus you telling me because I'm not vaccinated that I can't go into a private business. It's not the government's place to mandate those issues. If it was legal, they'd legislate it. And these are illegal, unconstitutional mandates that are happening.
Part of this movement also is because of the City Council's ordinance requiring city workers to get their COVID-19 vaccine by December 18th.
Yeah, so we're looking at being terminated, all city employees, which encompasses about 27 agencies, not just the fire department, for not being vaccinated. And again, that's an overreach on the government's part, because it's not your right to tell me what I do with my health care, you know, what I put into my body. Since 1973, the gold standard from the administration has been my body, my choice. And here I am saying the same thing. I have the ability and the constitutional rights to make the choices of what I put in my body. And it is no politician's place to tell me what I do or what my children do.
These are the two basic arguments. We heard the first when rumors of vaccine passports were going around. This is segregation. But all quarantine measures are by definition segregation. All of us who stood firmly against the lockdown said that we should segregate ourselves from the public if we were at risk. And the public should stay away from those in high-risk groups. This could be done, we said, so lockdowns were unnecessary. We promoted segregation of these groups as an alternative to crashing the economy, and we were right. His second point is, my body, my choice. When he mentions 1973, he's referring to Roe v. Wade. That is the standard by which he demands to be treated. But the vast majority of my anti-vax conservative friends oppose Roe v. Wade. They would force pregnant women to carry pregnancies to term. The fireman doesn't mention religious exemptions, but thousands of people have applied for them in New York City alone. Seeking these exemptions is based on the idea that freedom of religion is an absolute American value. But if that's true, how is it our right to impose our religious belief that human life begins at conception upon young women who believe otherwise? Poll your most aggressively anti-vax friends. Ask if they would outlaw abortion. The vast majority will say yes. Ask them why it's okay to strip a woman of her body choice liberty and her religious liberty as well by forcing her to conform to yours. After they hem and haw for a minute, they will say that her liberties are subservient to the sanctity of life. Am I right? But if life is so precious, why are so many nurses and EMTs insisting that they be allowed to care for patients in fragile health while remaining unvaccinated themselves? Unprotected against a virus that's killed hundreds of thousands of people in fragile health. Apparently, they aren't that concerned with the sanctity of life. Again, I think COVID is on the decline, at least for now, but it's not gone yet. I agree that mandates are unnecessary, draconian, and in most cases unconstitutional. I plan to ignore them whenever possible. But I'm hugely unimpressed by the herd mentality and the dishonesty I see in America at this moment. The anti-vaccination movement is driven entirely by political tribalism. If Trump had won, the hard left would be the anti-vaxxers, and the MAGA army would be mocking them mercilessly. If you quietly decide not to be vaccinated and accept your responsibility to be extra careful, you and I have no disagreement. But if you spend your days online evangelizing against vaccinations while insisting that you pay no cost, I won't pretend to admire you. The details of your life are none of my business, but we're connected by our humanity and our shared citizenship. If you've chosen vaccine resistance as the hill to die on, I hope that you don't have to actually die in order to prove your point. I hope that you've fully considered the deep sense of loss your friends and family would be left with should you expire in an ICU somewhere. Or, God forbid, the sorrow you'll feel if you infect an unvaccinated loved one who then gets very ill or dies. Not even Joe Biden would wish that upon you. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications.